went through a list of moral virtues, qualities that we need to pay attention to when we are learning Musar. Learning Musar, learning to focus our energies, learning to pay attention to certain things that can enhance our service to Hashem. So we're going through a list of 10 items, and we've covered, I think we're on number 8. We covered 8, we didn't do 9. So just a quick rundown of the first 8 so that we're all on the same page. The first one was, remember, paying attention that whatever we're doing, we're making a choice. We're choosing to do. Right? If you're choosing to learn Torah, you're choosing to do mitzvahs, you're choosing to pray, giving tzedakah, all those things are choices. It's something that you're doing consciously. No one is forcing you. You're not doing it because you're a robot, that you have to be good. No, you have the possibility of being really bad. There are people who are really bad, and they're making a decision to be bad. So the idea is pay attention. You are making a choice. You're making a choice to be good. You're making a choice to be in yeshiva. You're making a choice to become a good servant of Hashem. It's a choice, Harry. Got it? Secondly, when you're learning Torah, make sure that you take it with you. That is, when you close the book, you're still thinking about it. You're talking to your friends about it. You are engaged in Torah learning. It's not something that you take a biology class, and once you take the exam, you forget everything about biology. Because that's what a lot of people do. They cram for whatever class they're taking, and then after the class, they take the test, and then that's it, nothing. That was sort of my undergraduate career. You take a class in geology, you have no idea what this stuff is. You just pass the test, and then that's it. Sell the books, and you're gone. That's it. That's not what Torah is about. Torah is supposed to affect you, change you, make you a better person. So if you're not talking in limud, in learning Torah, it's not doing its job. 3, you have to work on 3 things. Loving fellow human beings as our colleague, our student from our left, or love Jews from our colleague to the right? Doing chesed, acts of kindness and chesed, and having savlanut, patience. Number 4 is that we have to look around and see the wonderful, beautiful acts of God that He has done for us and around us, so that we could see that there is only one God, and that He is the one that has done so much good for us. And that's important. 5 is, that's 4 and 5. 4 and 5. 6 is, remember, we talked about having boundaries. Boundaries are not only in relations to girls, but also with food, with other things, that we live a life of kedusha, of holiness. And holiness comes through having boundaries. Now, the boundaries should not be, how shall we say, just whatever I want. But the boundaries that Chazal, that the rabbis have helped us with, those boundaries should be part of our lives, incorporate them. And those boundaries can help us reach a level of kedusha. Number 7 is that we should take on things consistently. That is, we should grow and become consistent in our observance of Jewish law. It's not something that should be, today I'm going to do it, tomorrow I'm going to skip, and then Tuesday maybe. Then the next day is, okay, I'll do it twice because I didn't really do it the day before. No, be consistent, be in control, make the right choice. That's the idea of seven. But consistency there's a certain momentum. Then once you have it, when the ball is rolling, it's a lot easier to stay with it, as opposed to try to stop the ball, turn it around, and then, It's much, much harder. That's what the Kadosh Baruch Hu wants to see. Consistency. Number 8. We should fear God. Should fear God. He's going to punish us. We should be aware that there is such a thing as punishment. If you're naughty, you're going to get punished. If you're good, you're going to get rewarded. But we should have a healthy, not obsessive, but a healthy yirat shamayim, a fear of God. And a person, one second, when a person learns Musar, he works on his emunah, right, in his belief in Hashem. And that is the starting point of how do you know if you really have fear of God in your life, is that you don't do whatever the heck your heart tells you to do. If you have boundaries, if you're living within certain limitations, that you hold yourself back, then it shows. Now, obviously, not because I'm afraid of health or I'm allergic to strawberries and that's why I don't eat strawberries. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that somebody says, Harry, I'm not going to do this because Hashem says I shouldn't do it. That's it. And then that's the beginning of Yirat Hashem. That's the beginning. So we talked about the idea of being consistent, and if you have boundaries and you don't do what your heart desires, and you have limitations because you believe in Hashem, it is the beginning of believing in God. Number 9, he says that we have to love Hashem, which means the Rambam writes, he says that we should think about and contemplate his commandments, his statements, that is the Torah, and his actions, so that we should reach him to the level that we could, and thereby develop love towards Hashem. Okay? So that's the idea. And where do you really feel the love? If you have a love to Hashem, when you learn Gemara. When you're getting deep into it, that will bring about a feeling of love and connection.
So,
yes?
4 and 5 are kind of like, do 4 and 5 and it'll lead to 9.
If you do 4, which is knowing that there's only one God, and looking at the wonderful things that he's done to you, for you, and 5 is focusing on all the good things and becoming a grateful person, then you develop into 9, correct, but you also develop into 7 and 8, right? Because 7 talks about being consistent, because that helps you with the consistency, and with 8 of fearing God. Because if you know that he did so many wonderful things for you, you kind of want to do what he says. You don't want to really rock the boat. Things are good, then just keep going.
Or else you walk the plank.
Walk the plank. Okay, good. It's a nice metaphor. Okay. Number 10. A person should connect with Chachamim, with rabbis, and to learn Torah with them, and to also, he says, be with them so that you are learning their ways, the way they eat, the way they drink, the way they handle their business, and you could see how they are living according to the rules of the Torah. So that's what the Rambam says. And he says, the Alei Shur says that we have very few Chachmei Torah today as opposed to in the past. Okay? So that's something that we don't have the ability to do. And remember that the Shoah happened, the Holocaust, where many Talmidei Chachamim passed away. So that that also limited this connection that the Rambam is talking about. But it is what it is. This is what we got. The most important thing in learning Musar and learning and working on ourselves to become better people is to make sure that you don't get despaired. Don't give up. Don't give up. It is a lot of work. It's difficult. It's not going to be easy. But the reward is tremendous. Not only for you, for your family, for your community, for the Jewish people, for the world. Just imagine that more and more people will be more caring, people with boundaries, people with self-control, people with understanding that the spiritual aspect of their life is important, that will dedicate time in their day to think about what are they doing, why are they doing it, should they keep doing it, should they improve it, not improve it. Those type of questions is something that I think is better for every single person, whether Jewish or not. And that's what really the idea is we are learning here. The nisayon, the difficulty is that we think that we can't do it. It's too hard. It's too much. I can't do it. And I want to share with you something outside of the Alei Shur. If I can have that chumash, please. Thank you. So, in this week's parsha, anybody know what the parsha is? Vayishlach. Good. So what's the general rundown of the story? Real quick. Yaakov sends what?
Flocks of messengers.
He sends gifts and messengers to Esav, right? He moves his family from one side of the river to the other, right? And he stays behind, and what happens? Gets in a fight with a being that turns out to be an angel, correct? So there's a wrestling match, and Yaakov defeats the angel. This is on chapter 32. I'm looking at verse 29. And the verse says like this, the angel says to him, "No longer will it be said that your name is Jacob, but Israel. For you have striven with the divine and with man, and have, what? Overcome. You won." So I heard a very interesting question. If he won, why aren't we, because the Hebrew word is vatuchal, which means, and you succeeded, you were able, why aren't we called Michael? Why are we called Israel? Israel means to fight, to struggle. But the whole point is that he didn't only struggle with the angel, he defeated the angel. And if he defeated the angel, why aren't we called Michael?
Won the battle, not the war.
Well, the idea is this. Michael is to be able to. From the word yachol. So it says vatuchal, and you could, and you did. Here we're talking about the essence. So if the idea is that Yaakov Avinu fought against human beings and angels and won, why isn't he called Michael? He wrestled and won. The answer is because we're not going to win all the time. What we're expected to do is to strive, to struggle. Israel. That's our role. The role that we have is to battle. Sometimes you're going to win, Yuda. Sometimes you're going to lose. But if you stay in bed with your blanket over your head, you're not in the battle. You're not in the fight. But the idea is that your goof and your neshama are in a battle. And you have to make the neshama, help the neshama win. The forces of light and the forces of darkness are in the battle. And we are right there. We can either increase the forces of good, or we can increase the forces of evil. You decide. It's up to you. But the idea is, first is don't give up. Don't fold and say, there's no way I could win. And believe that you can. You can do it. You can do it. You have the tools. You have the support. You have the siyata dishmaya. Hashem will help you. But make a stand. Fight. Fight. So that's what the Alei Shur here is saying. That you have to believe that we can win. He says the Baal Pachad Yitzchak, that the kfira of our generation, the disbelief of our generation, is the disbelief that we have a choice. That people say, I can't, I was born like this, that's how I grew up, there's no. So what? Each and every single person here in this room made choices to be here. It was not determined by somebody else. You made a choice, Jeremy. You walked in the door, and you can walk out if you want. No one here holds your hand. You don't get locked up in the room. We have to believe, and we have to work on this belief, that we can live days, months, and years without sinning. We talked about this before. You are capable of living without sinning. It's up to you. It's not that you can't. It's a lot easier to slip up here and there, but you can live days, weeks, months, years without sinning. Nobody decreed that you have to sin. Yosef, I'm serious. Nobody said in Shamayim that Yosef, you have to sin today. So you have to walk around and punch, I don't know, Ronnie in the face. So I have to sin today.
Is it realistic though?
Yes. You have to believe it. You have to have emunah that it's up to you. But the idea is, you get the idea, no one has decreed that you have to sin. Zach, you could be in every class, every minute. You could be the greatest masmid. Masmid is somebody who comes to every class and always learning that the yeshiva has ever known. It's up to you. It's just a decision that you make. Each and every one of us has weaknesses. Question is, what do you want to do with them? It's hard to fight against them, to their natural tendencies. Okay. Nobody says in the Alei Shur that it's easy. But you certainly can do it. You can become the person that your future wife is praying for.
That was nice. Write down.
Yeah. Each and every one of you, just so you know, your wife, your future wife, right now, is sitting and praying that you become the best that you can. This is what she's praying. There is no limit to shleimus. There's no limit to how good you can become. No matter how good you are, you will be in, let's say, a day, you can get even better. And let's say you reach no, that's it. I am so good. There is no more good above, better than me. Trust me, you could become even better. There's no limit. There's no limit. And it means that we have to work on it. We have the responsibility. We have the obligation to work to become better people. Zeu. No one is going to do the job for you. There are no shortcuts here, Yaakov. No shortcuts. If you don't do the job, it's not going to happen. You don't get to become like Shua without hard work. Sure.
Shoot you in the face a mile away.
So, listen. What you have to do is that you have to instill in your heart and in your mind that you can be a person who fears God, who's a good person, that is learning Torah, and that is keeping mitzvahs. You could do it. And how do you do it? You do it by learning, you do it by practicing, and by praying. Praying means you're asking for Hashem for help. Hashem can only help you. But it's really up to you. The siyata dishmaya that Hashem will give you, the question is, are you going to actualize it and monopolize it, internalize it, or are you going to let it slip through your fingers? There are many, many opportunities that are given to us in our life. The question is, to what extent do we grab them and we actually do what we're supposed to do with them? How do you become great? We talked about this idea that the goal is not only to be perfect, reach this level of shlemut, completion, perfection, but also to become great. How do you become great? Do you know how to become great? Yosef? Do you know how to become great? Look at my flaws. That usually depresses me. That could get me down. There's 3 things in order to become great. 1, dat. You have to have dat. 2, yigia.
Knowledge, right?
Yeah. Yigia, hard work. And 3, hasaga. We're going to talk about them tomorrow, Be'ezrat Hashem.